Hey, thanks for stopping by. I saw Saturday night's main event last night.
Ooh, very fun, very
I've
fun.
gotten a bit into wrestling this year. There's another guy on Instagram who does another podcast, A Hero Story, Tyler. He goes by
Mhm.
Comic Boy. I was listening to him on one of his shows talk about wrestling. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. I'm a little interested. And then I got into it from all the Cody Rhodes stuff that happened this past year.
Oh,
And because like there's a really good documentary on Peacock about Cody Rhodes and like his
mhm.
life growing up, his dad, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream and everything. And so it's a really nice story and it's a really good, like feel good, like his dad never won the championship. It kind of got robbed from him technically. And
Mhm.
so he like, you know, works works his whole life basically to get the championship because his father never got it. And unfortunately his dad passed away in
Mm.
2015. So it's not like he could win it for his dad, but he did win the championship this year. So I took my sister to see this thing because she's been doing the thing where she's like, it's all fake, right? This is so stupid. But then she'll be doing the thing where she like sees me watching it, but she'll sit down and be like, "Well, hold on. What's going on with the bloodline here? What are these guys doing? What's their story?" And then she'll text me like the next morning and be like, "So I was reading up on
Of
Jacob Fatu
course.
and I see they're related." And it's like, see, we're getting a little invested, aren't we?
Well, I have something to confess. I didn't know that wrestling was fake until I was way too old.
Hmm.
Because my brother's 10 years older than me, and he loved wrestling, like, I guess, like the early 2000s, like Rey Mysterio. And one character that was frequently I was scared of was the Boogeyman. And we played the PS2 game all the time. So I was like,
Hmm.
oh fuck, this shit is so scary. Like they would fall on the tacks and they would get hit with the chairs. And I was like, oh my fucking God,
Yeah.
why are they doing this?
It was
So
it was a very fun thing to do live, like the crowd
yeah.
experience.
Uh-huh.
The entrances were
Oh my
just
God.
they're the best part. Like obvious, how couldn't you feel like a superhero when you have like your own track that kicks in? Like
Exactly.
there's this one announcer guy, Pat McAfee, who's hilarious, but I had never heard his
I know
intro
him.
music.
Doesn't he do football too?
He might. I don't know. I only know the wrestling stuff. But he came in and he had like this song and he was like vibing to it, he's getting the crowd pumped. I'm like,
Hmm.
wow, this is something to experience at least once. And I'm happy I can now
Yeah,
say I saw Cody Rhodes wrestle when he was
that's
champion,
right.
even though that match ended with him getting dropped on his head and wheeled out in a stretcher as per the story.
You see, that's what I'm saying. It's so scary. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, are they okay?
But speaking of wrestlers, we read a book where somebody refers to their abuelita as a luchador woman for like the first four issues. So
Yes.
let's jump into what we're talking about this episode. So I'll do my intro script, which I still don't have memorized. Episode two, we're doing great. So hello there, and thank you for so much for stop. Ugh, we already messed it up. We're doing great. And thank you so much for visiting your local Comic Sean. I'm Sean, and today Kristi has stopped by to talk America, the first America Chavez solo series. If this is your first time listening or watching, visiting your local Comic Sean is a podcast where we normally talk comics in a book club style format. The titles guests and I are reading can be found on my socials at local Comic Sean, well ahead of new episodes discussing them. And new episodes drop every Monday at midnight. For audio listeners, this podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. For those who prefer video, the podcast can also be found on YouTube. That's why we did our hair today, and I put on a hat. Um, Please feel free to follow or subscribe on your platforms of choice. If you like the show and want to support it, I encourage you to subscribe to our Patreon. Subscribing gives you the opportunity to see behind the scenes content, learn how the podcast gets made, and or gain access to resources for both reading and digital creation. Thank you to all who subscribe to this show in any way, shape, or form. I truly appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get started and talk America. I stumbled on this one way more than last week.
That's
So
fine.
we're gonna stop drinking the lovely Lagavulin and have some water instead.
That's my cue to take some water too.
Yeah, there we go. Water break. If you're listening to the show and you need water, I encourage you now. This is the rest period in between the matches. Wow, you also have the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man poster. I didn't see
I
that one there.
do. Because I saw all three of the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies when they re-released them for the Columbia Spider-Man like anniversary thing.
Mm,
Or is it Columbia? Sorry, I might have gotten that wrong. But um it was a lot of fun and we got all those posters, so I have posters for all three of them, but I don't have the other two out.
nice. Was far from so just the original Tobey Maguire is not like Far From Home where he comes back, right?
They released all of them, but I
Hmm.
only saw the first Andrew Garfield one, but I didn't end up seeing any of the uh Tom Holland ones. Those are too
Gotcha.
recent for me.
Wait, you haven't seen them at all?
Oh no, I've seen them,
I
of
was like, wait,
course.
what?
Come on.
I don't know.
I was sat in that theater the second those movies came out.
I think that's a good segue to go into question number one for you. Again, similar to last week's episode with Jared, I am familiar with you. We used to work together.
Yes.
So first question, how familiar are you with comics, the Marvel DC universes, and have you ever read any comics before now?
So I have read comics, but I won't say I'm very well versed in comics. I read things here and there, just like characters that I specifically find a good interest in, you know? Like America is a character that I read the Young Avengers, I'd say probably towards the end of when I was in middle school, um, and then she became like my favorite character. I started cosplaying as her a lot. So that's when I started to read her run when it first came out in 2017. And then me and you, we went to the comic shop a lot during like mid-COVID times. So I read
COVID.
a,
Woo!
yeah, I know, yeah. So I read a recent, I guess 2021 is 3 years ago at this point, but I
Yeah,
read
that's
the
crazy.
2021 run of Silk and I read the 2021 run of America Made in the USA, and I read some other comics here and there, like one-off things. But I'm more versed in, how dare I say, the MCU rather than comics. So
Oh no, how dare you?
I know, I'm sorry.
What Earth does the MCU take place on?
Not 616. I know that. I know that much.
Yeah, because what is it? I know Aman Vellani is like
I
the
know.
MCU person, really pushing forward the fact that in the comics the MCU is Earth 199999 five nines, I think.
Yes. Well, Kevin Feige does say it's 616, but I
Mhm.
don't. I also don't believe that it's 616,
Well,
especially
there's also
because,
like there's more than one 616. Like
yeah, I guess.
there was a recent Spider-Man series written by Dan Slott where like they introduced like that there's sub universes. So there was like a 616B or something, which was like the template for 616. Universes are weird.
You know that
Multiverse.
that's what I'm saying. If you come up with a multiverse concept, you could literally say anything about a multiverse. You could say, well, there's multiverses inside of a multiverse. And I'm just like, you know what? I get what you're saying, but do I really want to have that convoluted mess in my head, you know?
It's a good thing we're talking about a character who literally travels the multiverse. So
Yeah.
tell me a bit about your love for America Chavez.
So my love for America Chavez, just as just some background for myself, I am a queer person. I am Puerto Rican as well. So when I saw that, in her main run in the Young Avengers, she did identify as queer. She identified as a lesbian. She identified, even though she is like a multi-dimensional being, she did identify as Puerto Rican. Just, as she came into New York and everything, she was adopted by a Puerto Rican family, and her she is a person of color. So I identify with that a lot, and I really like that. And it was 2017 when this first run came out, and it was a time where we were, I guess that goes more into the comics as well. And more quite, I'm going to say a little bit more about this later, but it was a time where we all wanted to, like, I don't know. It was a difficult time socially, a lot of things going on. So America Chavez, like when that first run came out, I was like, wow, I identify a lot with her, and it feels really nice to see somebody who kind of is like me a little bit. So
Hmm. Same personality too.
I don't know about the same personality. I guess you can say that if you know
I have
if
no idea. I was very surprised how brazen she was in some scenarios. Like
Yeah.
she meets her grandmother and she's just like, I don't care.
No,
Like
I know, yeah.
goodbye. Like she literally just walked out. I'm like, oh, I mean, I guess that is a thing that happens in like a lot of stories, but I was also just
Mhm.
like, wow. You're not even a
Yeah.
little curious?
No, well, because that is a part of her character that I feel like she grows a little bit more in this series a little bit in
Hmm.
terms of just not just kicking ass and taking names, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
that's kind of like what she says. Like they even say I have a screenshot of one of the panels that I
Yeah, she
wanted to
says like
bring up.
I punch first or something, right?
Yeah, they said uh, sorry, they said I viewed you mainly as a nuisance, foxy but a one-trick pony with a disgusting amount of morality.
Oh yeah,
That's
what is
kind
it?
of how I felt it a little bit.
Eliminatrix, was that the villain's
Yes.
name says that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So America, this is her first solo series. It came out between 2017 and 2018. And it was written by Gabby Rivera, which very cool seeing that this is the first, not only America's first solo series, but it was the first comic series written by Gabby Rivera. So it's kind of like a bit of best of both worlds there, first for the character, first for the writer. And then primarily the main artist is Joe Quinones. However, some cover art for a few issues is done by Jen Bartel, who I was familiar with Jen Bartel's work from her She-Hulk covers, which were always like very detailed, very well put together. And I will say all the covers for this series were just
Oh,
like amazing coloring, sketch wise,
yeah.
just so good. I thought the artwork overall was pretty good. I know there were a few issues that Joe Quinones like weren't on, and like
Hmm.
the issue with Kate Bishop, and the
Yes,
one
I did
after that with
realize
the
that.
boxing. It was a bit of a different style. It kind of threw me for a little bit, but
Hmm.
especially like the majority of the book though, I was like, okay, this is really good stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so last time we tried, me and Jared kind of like both talked about House of X and Power of X and try to sum up the book, and we wound up making the show go for 2 hours. So I'm going to do something a little different here because I have the tendency to ramble, and I'd rather hear from the guest. Why don't you give us an overview of the series and a bit of a play-by-play here of America 2017 run?
Okay. I'll do my best because it can get a little confusing at some point I was a little confused as to what was really going on.
I got a little confused too. One thing that confused me was whether or not we were hearing America's inner thoughts or just Gabby Rivera as the narrator, like with
Mm,
the
yes, I
boxes in the
do get that.
corners. Because
Hmm.
it was like, okay, some of this is in the third person, some of it's in the first person, and it's inner thoughts. That threw me a little bit. So,
It that did throw me a bit as well. So starts off, America is reconnecting with her girlfriend. Unfortunately, her girlfriend, she's going off to college, Sotomayor University, and her girlfriend doesn't want to come with her. So she's like, what the fuck?
hmm.
Damn. Her girlfriend dumps her. She's trying to continue the next phase of her life and she wanted to have her with her. She goes to Sotomayor University and meets Prodigy, aka, or she already knew Prodigy was going there. What's his name again? Dave. Is it David?
Oh, I just remembered him as Prodigy. I know his
Yes.
last name
Okay.
starts with like an A or something.
Yeah.
Let
Okay.
me look
So
up his name.
she's with Prodigy, who she had known from her stint with the Young Avengers.
David Elaine.
Um, yes, David Elaine. So she is continuing her university experience. I guess like going into this when I was reading the description of the series, it was saying America's trying to live her life as a normal student, as a normal person, but that doesn't last very long. While she's at Sotomayor University, she immediately goes to Professor, I believe it's Professor Douglas's class,
Yeah.
and is tested in like multi-dimensional simulators. She gets thrown through one of her portals and gets thrown back in time by Professor Douglas.
And she
And she
punches Hitler in
meets
the face next to Captain America.
I I will say when I first like in 2017 when I first read this and I saw that I was like, "Oh my God, she's so cool." She's
So you
she
read this when it was releasing originally.
Yes, I did release this when it was releasing originally. I was there like when all the covers and everything were being
Mm.
put online and everything, so I was like, "Oh my God, this is so cool." But, because I was 16 years old. Um, but looking back at it now, I'm like, was that really necessary?
I was very like taken aback, being like,
I was too.
okay, I guess we're punching Hitler in the face, first issue
E-
of this series.
exactly. So she's back in time. She didn't know that she had the ability to go back in time. So
Which
with
is
this
a
new
power upgrade. right
which is
there.
totally a power upgrade. So with
Yeah.
this ability to go back in time, she's kind of like, well, if I can go back in time now, the first thing, well, meanwhile, first she punches Hitler and tries to stop Hitler. But
Hmm.
with Peggy Carter's like, no, 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 you can't do that yet. She's like, well, why the fuck not? Um, she's like, I'm here for a reason. They told me about you. Your professor told me about you. She helped Peggy Carter out a little bit, and she sees this hooded figure called Madramar, and they're like, whoa, who is that? She's like, this is the person who wants to see you. So, but meanwhile, when she realizes she can go back in time, one of the first things she wants to do is go back and try and stop her moms from dying. Her moms who sacrificed themselves for their planet, the utopian parallel, um, kind of goes into her getting back in time a little bit more. She does see the X-Men at one point.
The 80s
Um,
X-Men, Storm
yes,
with the
the 80s
Mohawk.
X-Men. Yes,
I
so
I
she
feel
sees Storm with
like
the Mohawk.
I kind of got a kick out of that because I like to picture from the writer's perspective. And I'd like to think that Gabby Rivera was there being like, okay, I really like the 80s X-Men. How can I get them in this story?
No,
Okay, we're
exactly.
gonna go back in time and we're gonna meet Storm with the Mohawk because I like that version of Storm. I just like to picture that was the conversation.
No, 100%. So she meets Storm with a mohawk.
Hmm.
Storm kind of is like, you were sent here too to kind of make peace with your inner self. And America's like, I don't do that kind of stuff. I don't think about myself. I don't think about things that have happened in my past. I just, like I said, I kick ass and I take names. She kind of just doesn't like to connect with herself. She thinks that she doesn't have any ancestors. She thinks that she doesn't have anybody who she's connected to. She feels like she's more so alone in the universe, the multiverse, excuse me, and doesn't have a connection to anybody really. Um, so meanwhile, back at university, she is trying to deal with these cyborgs that infiltrate the campus,
Yes, they were
I
basically
guess.
cyborg frat boys from like,
Cyborg frat
but
boys
not even
who
not even frat boys. Like they were
like
prep
preppy,
school like
yeah,
frat
prep
boys. Like they
school
were
boys.
obnoxious.
Yeah, they were obnoxious. She's like, "What the hell are you guys doing here?" She's with Prodigy and one of her friends, Xandria, who is the
Xandria is
sorority.
a new character who runs a
Yes.
sorority on campus that when I first saw it, I was like, what is going on? It is the Lilu Multipass Phi Delta Beta or something sorority, which their whole sorority is built on the character of Lilu from the Fifth Element, because in the Fifth Element, Lilu has like the multipass. That's how like they get in and out of
Uh,
places.
I didn't know
And
that. I know that the multipass.
I haven't watched The Fifth Element. I've seen like maybe 10 minutes of it, but
Me too.
I literally have a multi-pass in a drawer somewhere because it came in a loot crate back when I was getting loot crates when we
Hmm.
all did that at one
I
point
was
in
gonna
like
say loot
late
crate.
middle school, early high school, where you're like,
Yeah.
loot crate's so cool. I remember like the first six crates of loot crate were like the coolest thing ever, and you'd see what people got. So then it's like, oh, well, I got to sign up. And then as soon as you signed up, like they just started giving you the most random stuff that you're like,
I was gonna
I
say
I don't need any of this. This is just
no.
randomness. Like
Stuff you don't even know what it is half the
some stuff
time.
was cool. I still have the Thanos oven mitt that was recalled because it
Hey.
doesn't work.
Oh, like you mean like it doesn't work as in like it burns people's hands?
Yeah, like it doesn't block the heat, but I'm like,
That's
it's
horrible.
it's an Infinity Gauntlet oven mitt. I'll still hold on to it for fun. Just won't use it. But
I'm gonna
but
say.
yeah, so Xandria is like the leader of this fraternity, and she like becomes America's friend.
Yeah, so she becomes friends with America. Everybody at Sotomayor University is, just to preface this, have superpowers, so that's just another thing.
It's
A lot
it's
of
in
them
like
can,
another dimension.
yeah, it's in another dimension. Um,
I was wondering if it was real for a sec because I am familiar with Sonia Sotomayor. We had to read her autobiography for like our freshman year of college, and she like came to the campus and everything. So
wow.
so I was like, is Sonia Sotomayor like is this a real university? And then
No,
they're
it's
like,
not
nah,
a
it's in
real
another dimension. I'm
university.
like, oh, okay, cool.
No, for those who don't know, Sonia Sotomayor is a Supreme Court justice, so this was named after her. She was the first
Hmm.
Latina Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
Um,
And also,
so
one of the buildings at Sonia Sotomayor University in the book is named after Neil deGrasse Tyson. There's
yes, the
was it
DeGrasse Tyson,
the
like,
deGrasse Tyson dorm?
yes,
That's
the
where
DeGrasse
Prodigy
Tyson dorm.
lives.
Yes. So basically America is encountering a lot of these it turns out that the prep kids they thought were originally just like students who were coming to tour the university. They cause some havoc. She beats them up. Uh, and then she keeps getting thrown into these portals where she's getting pulled back in time in the meantime as to while she's trying to go through her university courses. Then finally, uh, Madramar is revealed to be America's grandmother. She doesn't want to believe it. Is that revealed? But okay, I might be mixing up as to how
So
this is in
first
order.
she so like first the way the book started, before she goes to college, she fights like an energy being when she's because she's
Yeah.
a part of the Ultimates, which aren't the Ultimates from the Ultimate Universe. It's her, like Black Panther, Blue Marvel, not Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Monica Rambeau, Photon. Or I don't know if she goes by the name of Photon in this book or if it's just Monica Rambeau. They call her Mon in this book, which kind of like threw me a
Yeah.
bit. Um,
They had a
but
lot of nicknames for people in
yes.
this,
Yeah, and like when
which
I
was a
hear
little
Mon, I
confusing.
was thinking like, DC Monel and all this stuff. So I was
Mm.
like, oh, Monica, got it. Um, but yeah, no, they fight this energy being on another planet. It's like Maltixa, I think was the name of it.
Mm.
And America punches the energy being, but then it comes back later as smaller energy beings. And so she has to fight them again. Um, it happens at the end of issue 4. The first fight takes place in issue 1, but then 3 issues later she fights him again because she inspired a young group of girls to be the Chavez guerrillas, and they kidnap America's ex-girlfriend to get
Yes.
her there to help them. And so she fights this energy being again, but then she's like, well, hold on, I'll go back in time. And so she goes back in time to issue 1 to help herself fight the energy being, but instead of punching it, this time they just kind of capture it and bring it to the future and imprison it. And so at that point you find out like the mysterious figure Majimar reveals herself to America, that she's somebody close to America, because
Hmm.
it's she reveals that she can also make star portals. She's the one that's been sending America through time and like kind of controlling where she landed so she couldn't go save her mom's. um and so she just kind of reveals herself that she's somebody close to America, possibly related to her. But America's like, unless you're some old future version of me, I don't know who you are. Peace out. Bye.
Yeah.
Um, and so then America goes to basically de-stress by hanging out with who, Kristi?
Kate Bishop!
I'll
No,
pass the mic to you.
no, Kate Bishop. I have read some issues of Kate Bishop's Hawkeye. I am a fan of her. I'm specifically a fan of her in America. That's a question that you said that you're going to be asking me later, but she was my favorite character in this. She was in it for 2 seconds, but I really do love Kate and America's relationship. They
It's a
go on a
very
road
good
trip.
friendship.
It is.
I
It's a very good
liked
friendship.
I liked that introduction of, America just shows up to Kate because she's had, a rough go of it lately. And
Yeah.
Kate has that whole thing of like, listen, I have these pillows that like I bought for, stress out emergency situations. And I've thought about using them a few times, but I've always asked myself, is this really the emergency or is it not
Mm,
that big of a deal? But I've broken out all the pillows. We got Oreo ice cream ready to
mhm.
go. Like I like their friendship and how
I
even like
do.
they just had like that closeness where you even have America.
Mhm.
She's like, can I set up a pull-up bar? I need a pull-up
Yeah.
bar to talk and think about this. And Kate's like, yeah, do whatever you want. Like I liked their interactions and their friendship.
Yeah. Their interactions in their friendship, she's just basically just like hanging upside down while she's talking about her relationship with her ex and what she wants to do and how she wants to de-stress. She's talking about potentially seeing another one of her old flings. Um,
I forgot her name, but it starts
she
with an M.
Mag,
Uh, I know the nickname is Mags.
yeah, let's call her Mags.
Yeah,
So Mags, she's trying to
I think
see
it's
if she wants to
Magdalene.
yeah, Magdalene, something along those lines. She wants to
Yes.
reconnect
Oh
with
no,
her,
Magdalena. Oof.
Magdalena. She wants to reconnect with Magdalena. So they go on a road trip. She's like, Magdalena's kind of like, you can come see me, but you can't, don't portal to me. Just drive to me. And
Which is
they're
already
like,
sketch.
yeah, they're like, that's a little weird, but all right, whatever.
They were
So
like,
they
road
get
trip,
in.
woo,
Yeah,
let's
they're like,
go.
yay, girls trip.
They get in Kate's.
So
What does she have? A Thunderbird or
yeah, she's a
something?
Thunderbird
Yeah.
with. Oh no, I was gonna say, did it have flames on it? No, it didn't.
It has
Um,
like a bird on the hood.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they take a trip to go see her. They're kind of then they suddenly get attacked by uh
Cyborgs.
yeah, they get attacked
So
by
the
some
prep
cyborgs
kids were
again.
cyborgs, and they get attacked by like a different set of
Yeah.
cyborgs, which are all linked to a company called Midas. So there's like an
Yes.
M logo floating around by this point. And so they meet up with what is it, America's old flame,
Hmm.
and they save her from these cyborgs, and so, everything goes well and they have a lovely date, right, Kristi?
Oh yeah, of course. No. So they go atop of something, I guess that they had uh on top of a building or
It
something.
was
They
a
sit
heart
there for a little
sign.
while. Yeah, a
It's like
heart
Tony
sign.
Stark sitting in the giant donut, but they sat in a
Yes.
giant heart.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking is like the Simpsons move, where the donut,
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was picturing when I saw that. Um, but so they sit there, they talk a little bit about their past and how they still might have feelings for each other. They go in for a kiss, and then suddenly America's injected with something, uh, and passes out.
she gets
Kate,
stabbed in the
meanwhile,
back by her friend,
yes.
literally.
So Kate is in the car and she's looking at the ticket, something that had fallen out of the Mags's jacket. She looks at it and it sees that it's a ticket for a fight between her and America. And then suddenly it pans to, I think, a couple hours later, a few days later. Um, Kate is set off going to go look for America, and America wakes up in a boxing ring with Magdalena. Turns out Magdalena was being threatened by the company Midas, and her father is being captured, and they say if she does not kill America, then her father will die.
Or vice versa.
Yes, or vice versa. So essentially Kate comes up, she in the back actually. America's trying to talk to Mags while she's going through these motions. She's like, you don't have to do this. She's like, well, I want to make sure that my dad is okay. I can't, that's my dad. I'm so sorry that I had to do this to you and I had to bring you here like this. Um, Especially since this is the second time America's getting her heart broken in like this whole run. Um, and Kate disarms the people backstage and they're trying to get them to fight to the death,
And
but
Kate's
they
helped by
intervene.
the what's her name? Starts with an M. Abuelita. I already
Oh, Madramar.
Matrimar, yeah.
So Madramar and Kate end up helping America, and this is when they kind of end up taking Madramar ends up taking America, and that's when she reveals, I believe.
Yeah,
Or yeah.
Matrimar, it's she basically says at one point like she's helping. So at this point Kate gets Mags and her father out of there. And so America and Madrimar are fighting all of the for whatever reason the Midas Corporation has the mindless ones working for them, which are like Dormammu's henchmen from what I understand.
Hmm.
Um and while they're fighting, like America's still being a jerk to Madrimar, being like, I don't need you in my life. Like after this, go away. And Majimar says, she goes, man, if only you weren't my granddaughter, like,
And then she's
I
like,
wouldn't like you. And then yeah, America has like the mind the jaw drop moment of just being
yeah,
like, wait, what? And so then, we get some explanation where Madrimar teaches America a new trick, the ground stomp
yes,
move, like we were in a video game. Um, and then they go off in a star portal and they go to see the ancestral plane, which
yes,
to my understanding is in a this series would have introduced the ancestral plane to at least not like the Black Panther one, but a new one for America's backstory.
yes.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more, Christy.
So the ancestral plane is then where Madramar shows some past memories to America. She shows how
Is it a real
she
place or is it in their
I
minds?
I believe it's a real place.
Cuz
It's a
like
real
they play
question
things
mark?
back, but then they also like eat food there, and Majramar has a house there.
That's why I'm saying it's a real place. It's a real
Yeah,
place. I'm assuming it's more like it's an ancestral plane. So
yeah.
they're there. It's kind of like a limbo-esque place. That's
Yeah.
how they
But it's
explain it
not
in.
like there's souls walking around. Like
No, it's
it's
not
kind
like
of
their
like
souls walking
reliving
around.
things, highlights. They
Yes.
can see the
S-
past.
So she shows some memories to America of how she had to leave her planet, planet Fortuna,
I think it
Fort.
was Planeta Fuerta or
Oh
something.
yeah, Planeta Fuerta. Planeta Fuerta. They leave. They essentially were being invaded by a species, and they had to leave as they were sucking a lot of their energy. So this is one of America's mothers. I believe it was
Amalia.
Amelia. Amalia.
Amalia is
So
Madramar's daughter.
yeah, Amalia is Madramar's daughter. So Amalia and Madramar leave Planeta Fuerta, and they go to the Utopian Parallel, where then Amalia meets America's other mother, Elena, and it explains Madramar shows America some of their first moments together, and she's able to kind of see a little bit more about her mom's experiences and understand a little bit more of their selflessness and how they sacrifice themselves for the Utopian Parallel. As the Utopian Parallel needed them to sacrifice themselves in order to contain, like, save their
It was so that
race.
was a big thing for me reading this book is they explain that the utopian parallel, so where America and her moms are from, is actually created by Billy Kaplan. They're like Billy Kaplan, it was explained in like issue 4 or 5, where it's
Mhm.
explained that I guess when he gets older, he's gonna turn into this being. It was like the deluge or something. Here we are. It was in start issue 4. Reality is encroaching. Black holes are pulling the parallel into the multiverse, where the stars are chained and magic is hidden, where the demiurge is still a child named William Kaplan. So
Mm.
the paragraph before that is the parallel was made from the breath of a being known as the demiurge. So America's home, which exists like outside of time and space, was created from Billy Kaplan after I guess he becomes this all-powerful being in the future. Was that ever brought up in Young Avengers? Because was Billy
I was
Kaplan
gonna
in
say
the Young
no.
Avengers run?
Billy Kaplan was in the Young Avengers, and I feel like I would have like that would have came up,
That
but
blew my mind when I read that. I'm like, wait, hold on. Billy is like this
I
god level
don't know.
being
I
that
also
made
don't know how I
America's
missed
home.
that. I think I missed that when I was reading that, which is why I was when you said that I was like, wait a minute. So, because that is really interesting. But yeah, so essentially it's these two. I'm looking at it right now in the ancestral plane. It's a metaphysical space that holds the history of Madramar's people.
Yeah.
So,
Which they are the I looked up the planet. It's Planeta Fuertona, not
oh,
Fuerta.
Planeta Fortuna.
And they're called like Fuertonans or whatever, the people from there. And so
So,
they fled from planet Fuertona when they were getting attacked by what was it? Like the purple people. La something. What was their name? La Legion. They're just called La
yes,
Legion.
La Legion. Yes.
So they like fled when La Legion were attacking because so Planeta Fortuna was it's explained in that issue with beautiful art from Jen Bartel.
Oh,
It
gorgeous
was
art.
gorgeous, where Madramar explains to America that their home planet, Planeta Fortuna, was created when these two ancient spirits basically fell in love and they
Mhm.
created a planet. One spirit was capable of creating portals, star portals, so kind of where they get their powers. And then the other spirit was just like a world maker. And so when they fell in love, they created Planeta Fortuna. And part of the reason they had to flee the planet when La Legion attacked was because the spirits were putting the planet into an ice age to try and freeze out La Legion and get rid of them. Which we'll get into that a little bit because I feel like there were some things that were kind of wrapped up neatly in a bow that were a little strange based on how they were talked about in the series. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, so they flee, and Majamar reveals that she is America's grandmother, explains that she left when the day that America was born because she got called back by the spirits to help basically rebuild and reclaim La Planeta uh, Puertona.
Mhm.
Um, back to you, Kristi.
So America is essentially is like, well, so her grandmother also reveals that she was watching her and that she kind of saw her progression and made sure that she was safe and she knew that she had the power to basically conquer anything that comes in her path. She knew that she was a strong individual.
which was a
Um,
good way to set America off.
yeah. So America was like, well, I wasn't because I was sick, I was a child, I was lost, I had nobody to rely on, I had nobody to go to. Um, and essentially she just feels very betrayed because she was alone for her whole entire life,
She was
essentially.
basically a traveling orphan because, like, she
Yes.
explains, got help from strangers, but a lot of the time
Hmm.
I was on my own, even though I had people that I would see as I move through life, like
Yeah, and then
Mags,
as
like they spent some time together.
yeah, so she had spent some time with other people, I mean, she did spend time with the Young Avengers as well at some point. This is
Hmm.
before she goes to university. Um, but sorry, I lost my train of thought. We were talking about okay, so she's with her grandmother and she kind of realizes she does want to have a bit of a relationship with her, but she does have some unfinished business at university. She wants to finish up her schooling. She's like, this is a lot for me. I know that you want to like help me out, but I can't do this right now. So like just give me some time. I'm on my spring break. You're bothering me while I'm supposed to be resting from school and I have too much shit going on. So essentially she does go back to university. So Kate isn't really seen again. She's kind of like, bye, Kate. I'm going off with a bunch of different people, doing whatever. She goes back to university, and university is back under new surveillance. There's a new dean of students, which you're kind of like, that's the people from Midas, were correct?
Yeah,
So,
so the new dean, I forgot her, person name, but basically she's really exterminatrix, which
yes.
is, and I think her last name is Midas, so she's like the leader. Her real name, yeah, no, so her real name ends with Midas. I think her first name I cannot pronounce it, but I believe it's Abulet,
Yes.
Midas. And so yeah, she comes in, poses as the new dean, and basically just tries to get America into trouble, and
Yeah.
even makes a new basic military police force
Yes.
on campus called Fist. Um, and this is where the book like takes a turn because like the
Yes.
first half was real, like, I won't say feel good, but there was a lot of fun, there was a lot of levity, and
Hmm.
we're just kind of learning more about this. This is where the book takes the turn where Exterminatrix shows up, and then she just like is just racist to
Oh,
America.
100%.
she,
Straight up
she
just straight up just calling her violent, straight up being like, you shouldn't be here. You're the person who's doing this. She's like
yeah.
pointing fingers when
And
obviously
she
everybody
even
knows that
says you
it's
people. Like, I
yeah.
understand this with you people. And America's like, hold on. And like it is like clear, like Prodigy tries to like talk America down because it's very
Hmm.
clear that Exterminatrix is trying to get a rise out of America. So she has an excuse to like arrest her and say she's the
Hmm.
problem, etc. But I was like a bit taken aback. I'm like, oh, okay, we've taken a turn. I
Yes.
thought this school took place in a dimension outside of Earth.
Outside of
And,
racism.
and I'm like, oh, I guess not. I guess it's still
No,
here.
no, yeah. So but essentially, America's trying to. Her professor goes missing, Professor Douglas, who she goes to for some to basically kind of say like, so you were trying to, you knew that this was my grandmother all along. Why did you do this? She was like, well, that was the test. It's your study, whatever, blah blah blah. So she goes missing. America tries to go looking for her, and then Exterminatrix is essentially tries to arrest her. Says no portals. There's a curfew.
Yeah.
Can't fly. So
It's
then
literally everything to limit America. She even says in her
yes.
address to the whole campus, no star portals, as if anybody else
I
can create star
exactly.
portals.
So it's obviously singling her out. Everybody recognizes that. Um, so America is essentially the robots take her, they try and cuff her, they try and give her almost like a perp walk.
Yeah.
So they put her, they're like,
She
look, guys,
films the whole thing and broadcasts it across
yes.
campus. Just
So
crazy.
all the students are kind of like, whoa, they're arresting America. What is even going on? This is not what we want our university to be like. America breaks out and she is trying to take on Exterminatrix, and essentially she reveals herself and says that she wants to take over the university. And the Chavez guerrillas realize, they see what's going on, it's being live streamed, and they all realize they need to help America.
As
Prodigy is
do
also,
the Lilu multipass people.
yes. So Xandria and her sorority, or is that what they're called?
I think they're a
Or
sorority, yeah, because
Greek
they,
life?
yeah, Greek life.
So the sorority, they all realize that America's in trouble and they're trying to help her. And then real at the same time, when Mags gave America that injection, they did extract some DNA from America. And they took DNA from her and decided to make Chavez bots.
Yes.
So
So it's explained,
uh
yeah, it's explained that the Midas Corporation, and this is where again the book takes a bit of a turn.
yes.
They explain that like basically it's just an evil corporation that are making like weapons and stuff for conquest and this and that. So they were behind the energy being the entity at the start of the book. And
Yes.
they from what I gather, they unleashed it on Maltixa because they saw that planet as lesser for the people that were there. And so they unleashed the thing there as kind of like a test because that was going to be their big product to sell, is that like the entity and everything. But
Mhm.
then because America intervened, they were like, "Oh, okay, you're annoying. Let's get rid of you." And so that's why they started going after America. But then they saw opportunity to basically use America's DNA and like powers to make these robots that are like America Chavez bots. And she's like, this will be our new
Yes.
weapon that we, sell and give out. And, we're going to take over Planeta Fuertona because, why should you people have this world and everything? And
They
it's just,
say you people a
they
lot.
say you people a lot between, so like, they have like the banner at the top of the issue. So like it's like the Exterminatrix arc between issues like seven, what is it? No. Yeah, it's like I would say issues 7 or 8 through 10. And
Yes.
yeah, she's just like it's just blatantly racist, just being like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, you don't deserve to have this world. It's like,
No, yeah.
okay.
So essentially, America and her friends, she has a band of people, and then they're streaming this on the internet. So they have a lot of people who are attempting to help them. They create uh some robots to help themselves as well.
Yeah,
So
because like
they're
one
all
guy
trying
at
to
the
go
school was
after,
like an engineer.
yeah. So they're all trying to go after Exterminatrix, but they do end up capturing America for a little while, and she goes to she's in classroom 32, I believe. It's like it's in
And
the
that's
department, yeah.
the generation room, the thing that
Yes, the
makes
generation room
scenarios.
that was in the
Similar to like
beginning.
the X-Men's danger room where like stuff
Yeah.
feels real and it can like affect you, but like it's not real.
So America's essentially trapped in limbo. She's not able to help anybody. She's kind of, her friends are on their own. They encounter also real, they end up getting into like, I guess like not like the sewers or something, but like an underground kind of thing
They're
where
in
they're
like
trying to
tunnels,
reach
yeah,
her.
under
Yeah, like
campus.
tunnels. And then while they're streaming it, they end up meeting these like, I guess you could describe them as like
Racists.
alt-right weirdos who are
So
like, you people need to get the hell out of here.
yeah. So what happened is that yeah, they put out a call to Prodigy because he's a genius and he taps into all the systems. He puts out a call to like the whole university and is like, "Listen, we need your help. Exterminatrix is like taking over the school. They're evil and like America's in trouble. We got to help her." But yeah, I guess there's like these alt-right, racists that are just like, "Nah, we don't like America." One of them even throws in Prodigy's face and calls her an illegal, which again, in my
Yeah,
mind, I'm reading this series, I'm like, doesn't this take place in another dimension?
that's what I'm saying. That's another thing. We were talking a little bit earlier about America made in the USA again, and it kind of, when she washes up on the beloved Jones Beach, she
Mhm.
they pull her in, and the dad even says, "What if she's illegal?" Or the mom says, "What if she's illegal?" And I'm like, guys, what? Why are we just like throwing this? First of all, what the hell is going on? This word keeps getting thrown around, and I'm a little confused. She's an interdimensional being. I don't know how any of that is illegal. Are
Well,
there laws
Kristi,
about that?
listen, she didn't get a visa from the utopian parallel. So
Oh, I'm so
she did
sorry.
technically come here
Well, in a in a
616.
utopian parallel, you're telling me that there are borders? Okay.
Well,
Um,
technically there are because they closed it off so that nobody could get
oh.
back.
Damn.
That was the
So,
whole thing the mobs did was they're like, oh,
yeah,
we gotta seal it off to make sure it
I
stays
guess,
whole
yeah.
because it was falling apart.
Damn.
That's actually kind of
I guess. When you put it that way. So essentially, America is on her in the simulator. She's in this limbo. She's seeing, I think even she sees like a vision of Monica Rambeau again. I see that.
she sees a vision of a few people.
Yeah, she sees a vision of a few
And
people.
Madramar talks to her again, right?
Yes,
Through
Madramar talks to her again. They essentially are defeating Exterminatrix. They're seeing the Chavez bots. They're uh she does kind of have a nice moment with her grandmother, and she's like, you've got this, you have the power within you to help yourself, and then once you finish this journey, like, we can all come back together a little bit. So um Professor Douglas is also captured in this point, and they're also
yeah.
trying to save their professor. So she's kind of being held captive, and that's one of their incentives to kind of get America to come to her. And so America finally gets out of the classroom. She goes and finds Exterminatrix, and essentially in 2 seconds she's down. And it really was quite quick for me. I was sitting there and I was like, okay, so she's out. They get her, and that's it. And they get all the Chavez spots, and that's it.
Yep.
And that's basically the exposition. And America, from that point on, she goes. Uh, they realize that they kind of need to start making their own rules. They come together and they
Prodigy gives a
realize,
speech. Then he
yeah,
goes,
Prodigy
"Hey,
gives a whole speech.
um, I didn't realize like this place was a little racist."
Yeah, they're essentially like, racism exists? This
They're
is
like they're
crazy.
like here at Sotomayor University. Again, I thought we were in another dimension.
I thought we were in another dimension. They're saying surveillance versus safety. They're like, well, there are no curfews. You can do whatever the hell you want. We're here to be together and we're here to support each other.
It's a
That's essentially the message.
tied a nice little bow
Yeah, they
for the
tie a nice
ending.
little bow. They're like, we're all getting along. Let's all hold
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah.
So
We don't know what
that's,
happened to the students who are like throwing Molotov cocktails and like
yeah,
just hating America Chavez. We don't know what happened to them, but
we trust they will be dealt with.
trust they're fine. They're fine.
Yeah.
They're somewhere and their issues are being addressed. Yeah.
Uh, so America's kind of like, Professor Douglas, can I do a study with you about planet is it Planeta Fuerta?
Planeta Fuertona.
Planeta Planeta Fuertona. Sorry, that whole name of it was
Yes.
catching me a little bit.
Yeah.
Planeta Fuertona.
Yes.
So she kind of is just like, all right, guys, school's over. I'm going. Punches a dimension and goes to go see her grandmother, where she learns more. She sees that she has a home there. She sees that she has other family, like, not necessarily family, but other, what they call starlings. Starlings, they go through the Starling Highway, where then they see, it is, what's it called? It's this big crystallized star, essentially, the Uzam, which gives the Starlings their powers, and which is on Planeta Fortuna. It
Hmm.
gives the Starlings their powers. That's how they get all their abilities, and it is where America goes to kind of connect with more of the ancestral plane a little bit. Um, she gains some power a little bit. It's kind of where she realizes that she does have more within her, and then it kind of ends up getting cut short because La Legion comes in and starts attacking. Madramar ends up falling through a red cloud and gets stuck there, which is essentially like a purgatory type place where she sees somebody else. Um, Salgado is a character that's introduced who kind of teaches America a little bit more about the planet and where her grandmother is right now and how they have to stop La Legion because they essentially suck some energy from them. They don't
And they're
use the
also
energy
like
for
draining
anything.
the planet of like its
Yes,
life force and energy.
they're draining the planet of their life force and their energy, and America wants to save her grandmother, but I just said her name, Sargon?
Salgado.
Yeah, Salgado. She is like, well, we're gonna have to wait. You can't just take all of the power and energy. It's a not a renewable resource essentially. So if you go back now, you're just, it's not gonna help you. But America decides that she wants to save her only family member, and she goes back there and powers up, and they essentially give her some more information about what is actually happening in on Planeta Fortuna. Um, this is the part where I kind of was getting a little more confused as to what was going on, and
Yeah,
it
so
just
this is where I feel like the series kind of got tied up in a nice little
oh,
bow.
it went
What
like from 0 to 100.
Because like the whole thing is like the saving of Planeta Fortuna takes place literally across issues 11 and 12, and
Yes,
like it's a two-issue thing. And so yeah, at one point they get Madramar, she falls out of the red cloud, but then she's possessed by
yes.
some type of spirit from La Legion. Um,
Mhm.
but then America, what was the crystal's name? Uzam?
Uzam,
Uzom's like, there's more to them. You got to
yeah,
go and see what's in the unknown. And so literally I literally was hearing Into the Unknown from Frozen. Like
yeah,
she's in a crystal with lights and she's being told to explore the unknown. I literally was like, "Oh, she's Elsa. Got it."
yeah.
Frozen
So
Frozen 2, great movie. And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And so she goes into the red cloud while the other starlings are fighting La Legion. But then she goes through Red Cloud, and basically it's like a portal that she finds like La Legion, and like some of their people are dying, and all of a sudden she can speak to La Legion because of a connection with Uzam, and they explain that Uzam, which was originally a starling, before it turned into a giant star crystal when it crashed to like Planeta Fortuna, was actually like helping La Legion because their world was dying and they were dying off. So they were this whole time, they just couldn't speak to the Starlings
yeah,
or the Fuertonans, and they're like, listen, we're dying, we need energy. And so all of it was just a miscommunication because they couldn't understand each other's language and they
yeah,
were getting into death battles.
yeah.
And they end the series with being like, oh, okay, we'll give you a piece of the crystal and this should help you recharge your world and everything will be fine. And then
Essentially,
they have a nice little farewell at the beach, and America's like, I sensed a greater power and I think there's more to do. And she just kind of flies off.
yeah.
And that's the end of the book. And I thought it ended very, neat little bow. And I was just kind of there going, hmm. So with that in mind, what did you think about the book slash series we read as a whole?
So, I thought that, like you said in the beginning, it was kind of just a little bit of a happy-go-lucky kind of thing. It felt really nice to see America in a different setting without the Young Avengers being like a little bit more of a focus on her. Um, but at the same time, uh it showed a lot of her, it showed a lot of her character growth. It showed a lot of, I did enjoy how it talked a lot about connecting with her ancestors, feeling as though she didn't have anybody and finding a connection somewhere and being able to, take power from that. I did say one of the quotes that I really liked was, "You fail to consider the alternative, that the people I love would give me strength." So she didn't even necessarily take strength from Uzam in the beginning, which is towards the end when she finally figures out like her planet and where her powers come from. But she takes a lot of strength from her loved ones, and even though she is an orphan, she has her own found family. She has her family at university. She has her family in Kate, and now her blood family and her grandmother. So that's something that I really enjoyed, is seeing like the kind of found family aspect in her, and seeing how she can grow from her relationships. And college is a time for all of us to grow. So she,
Uh-huh.
I
I
guess.
did, I did, I was very surprised that this book was America Goes to College. That's
Yeah.
not what I expected this first solo series to be about.
I thought it was cute. I
Hmm.
thought it was, even though she doesn't get to have the kind of college experience, at least she got to have a spring break, you know?
Yeah, yeah, where she
She
got
got to
hunted
spend
by the
some
mindless
time.
ones and
Yeah.
got into a boxing match with a former, crush.
Well, at least she got to spend some time with Kate.
Yeah, I will say, I think so. My thoughts on the series overall, I think it was fun. I
Mhm.
think it was a little all over the place.
Oh, 100%.
There were some pieces of dialogue that I thought were kind of cringy, and I was like, "What?" Like, issue one was the worst offender for me. I felt like it got
Yes,
better after issue
it
one,
did.
but like when I first was reading it, I'm like, "All right, some of these one-liners, I'm like, what are we
That's
doing
what I
here?"
was saying. Something I wrote down was that some of the writing was painfully 2017.
Yeah.
I was sitting there and I was like, what? Like time has changed so much in the language
Yeah.
that we use,
Though
but
if we're gonna say like one of the questions on my list here is what was your favorite moment or piece of dialogue from this series? The very first page. I thought this was a great page of the we asked 100 people like
mhm,
who is America to you? Because I kind of like that. It's like an opener.
yeah.
This page made me think that this might be a little bit of a political series in a sense where we're gonna kind of see America in the United States and kind of like
Mhm,
how because similar to Captain America, she's a hero that wears the red, white, and blue, the stars and stripes. But obviously, for her, it's Puerto Rico compared to just like the United States. I was curious to see a bit of that, and I was a little taken aback that this was a I'm going to go to college in another dimension, and we didn't really get much of that until the series takes a turn in the middle with just saying the most crazy racist stuff to
yeah.
America for like no reason. However, the line that I thought was very wild to see on the first page, because I guess Loki was on the Young Avengers, is
Yes.
Loki. It asks, "Who is America to you?" And Loki, sitting on a couch, goes, "In Midgard speak, she's a bad mamma jamma." Now, where is that bacon I ordered? Because he's waiting for like Uber Eats. And I was just there. I read that panel like three times over, being like, Loki of Asgard described America Chavez as a bad mama jamma.
And that's where I kind of like I I don't like to use this word very frequently, but
Are you gonna call it woke?
no, I was gonna say cringe.
Oh, okay.
No, no, no.
I
No, no.
thought you were about to be like, I think the book was a little woke.
No, no, no. Because that's like the whole point. America is a deeply political character just in terms of like her own, just herself as a individual.
Yeah, they did a
I could go
phenomenal
into,
issue with the Ultimates this year,
yeah.
where she's like shows up at the end and it has like a lot of impact and meaning.
Mhm. I mean, I could get into so many different aspects as to how I think that being queer in itself is kind of like a political thing, and it's something that you kind of have to, it is politicized a lot. And America, is a lesbian. It's not talked a lot about. It's very, even though it does show a lot of her love interest, and even at the end, she is on Planeta Fortuna, she is kind of finding interest in other girls. It's very like it's not something that's, made a big deal,
Hmm.
but which is something that I also really enjoyed about the
It was very
series, but
organic in this
it
series. Like,
was.
I will say, I was very upset when she broke up with her girlfriend
I
at
was
the start of the
too.
book because just from that first interaction, they seem to have a really good relationship where like
Yeah.
they get in and they're like, we can skip the Oreo ice cream, I just want to spend time with you and this and that.
Mhm.
So that's what kind of got me a bit off the gate. I thought America had a very strong reaction. Like, I feel like it was very quick. Like, she didn't even
Yeah.
hear out her significant other. She was just like, really, the conversation was, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm not going with you. Which to me, the conversation was, I want to break up because she was like, I love you and all this stuff. But America was just like, what? You don't want to come to me? I guess you want this to be over. And she just kind of storms
Mhm.
out. And I was like, America, that was kind of a little extreme. I
And
mean,
that's, yeah, but then I think that that by the end of this series that
she does mature.
she's grown, she's matured. I feel like in the beginning she doesn't understand, like she doesn't have connections to anybody. She has a fear of abandonment.
Yeah.
She said that, sorry, excuse me. She said that she has her fear of abandonment. She didn't I guess her first instinct was kind of to just run. She
Yeah.
didn't want to be a bitch. She didn't want that, but she did it to essentially protect herself.
Hmm.
But by the end of the book, I believe that she does have better relationships and she doesn't want to abandon anybody. She has a good group of friends. She has family now. That was something that did really kind of mess me up in the beginning. I was like, why would she do that?
Yeah. And
Like,
like
she could have
I
had a good
thought
relationship with her.
I thought that character, I forget the character's name. I think it's
Lisa.
Lisa. I thought she was going to come back later in the series where America was going to be like, "Hey, listen,
Yeah.
I've thought about us and I want to." And that didn't happen. They just kind of
But
were
then they
like,
just
"All
used her
right."
as bait
Yeah,
at one point, and that was it.
I thought that was an interesting choice to say the least. I was like, okay. That
It
was the thing
was.
for me though. Like, so yeah, we start off with the energy being, we start off with the breakup, and then, we stop the energy being later, and then we start introducing Madrimar. I thought it was, while again, I pictured it as the writer being like, man, I'd really like to have write about Storm with the Mohawk. I did think it was a little random to just be like, okay, the people she gets sent to, Peggy Carter,
Yeah.
Storm from the 80s. And like that also becomes like a really big thing for America in the series where she's like, these inspirations to me. And I'm like, yeah, but you had like one conversation with both of
I
them.
I do think like it's more so that they are like quote unquote legends,
Yeah.
that, Storm is a legend, Peggy Carter is a legend.
Yeah.
So it's more so I feel like there are a lot of really empowering females in this series.
Yes.
So they're essentially just people who America knows about and she takes a lot of inspiration, I guess, from
I
or
did like
empowerment
the,
from.
how she kind of kept quoting Peggy at the start of the book, being like, Peggy advised me I should have a plan, and I should have a
Yeah.
plan. I shouldn't be flying by the seat of my pants here. I should have a plan and be going in structured. And then Storm was really the one with, connecting to the ancestors and
Yes.
listening. So I understood. I just thought it was a little weird, like later on in the book, where like she kept like having like the spiritual images behind her, being like, the people I've drawn
Hmm.
everything from. I'm like, all right, well, wouldn't you picture more of your moms or, Madrimar and this and that?
Yeah. Well, that's
So,
another thing is that she says she doesn't remember much of her moms
yeah.
because she was only 6 when they died.
Hmm.
Or I guess they don't even necessarily die, they just like become like a part of the
Yeah.
multiverse.
Yeah. And like, so yeah, so I thought, and then I do feel like we jump around a bit.
Yeah,
Like, I think the
a
best part of the
lot.
book was the road trip with Kate Bishop.
Hmm.
Something that I think with this book, I think America, at least from this story, I think she worked best when she was bouncing off of
Hmm.
other people. Because when she was kind of by herself, I was like, okay, good character, but not much going on here. But when she was like with Kate Bishop, they're bouncing off of each other. When she's with Prodigy, like there was a lot of good interaction there that I really liked. So I felt like she was really good when she bounced off others. So I imagine she's really good in the Young Avengers. Um,
Yes.
and so, but then we get to Exterminatrix, and it's like, oh, okay. Like I said, book takes a turn. Now it's capitalist company is trying to make death weapons and this and that. And then we take another like hard turn into, okay, now we're fighting La Legion, and actually it's all been a big misunderstanding this whole time. And the big question on my mind, and like maybe I'm reading too deep, but I was just there like, okay, if Umaz? What's the crystal's name again?
Uz Uzam?
Uzam. I'm like, okay, so if Uzam knew there was a language problem and they just weren't quite connecting, why didn't the two spirits, Baraka and Sanar, why didn't they like sense like, maybe there's a little something more? Because they were just like, oh no, they're gonna destroy the planet. We gotta freeze this thing into an ice age. And I was like, that's why I felt like the series really just kind of, like you said, like the
Yeah.
fight with Exterminatrix, just kind of, oh, she gets thrown into this electrical unit and they destroy the robots and bada bing, bada boom, they're done.
Yeah.
And then same with like La Legion, it's like, oh, we just couldn't understand you. Well, now that we can, we're all friends. Here's a crystal. You're all good to go. I
Well,
thought it
I
was
mean,
just very convenient
that's
towards
a
the end.
that's a utopia, I guess.
Yeah,
Like
I
in the
guess.
best case scenario, like it really is the best case scenario for her. Like I feel like there was a lot of subtext in this. There's a lot of
Hmm.
underlying meanings and a lot of things that the author wanted to get across about America and who she is as a character.
Yeah.
And they spent a lot more time on that rather
Hmm.
than like what was actually happening, like the
Yeah.
plot
And also,
of the book.
I would like to imagine that like part of it was probably like Marvel being like, all right, you got 12 issues. And so there's
Yeah,
probably
I know,
like
yeah.
a lot more to fit in that just couldn't due to space and time.
Mhm.
Because it is an even 12, which I don't know if this series was supposed to get more issues, if it was like an ongoing that just kind of got turned into a limited series, but it did feel like one of those, okay, I have 12 issues, I gotta wrap this up.
Yeah. I mean, and it does show that America's Next her own run just was 6 years later, so they don't
Yeah.
have anything
And that
else
was a mini
really.
series. She only got five
Yeah,
issues.
I know, which was a
Um,
little disappointing.
yeah. So what did you especially like about this book and series?
Like I said, I really just enjoyed the fleshing out of America's character a little bit more. Not just being somebody who punches portals, because that's kind of what she did for a really long time. I mean,
I
she did
liked her
jump
having a
around a lot.
connection to like,
Yeah.
ancestors, the multiverse, and how like there's that one beautiful splash page of her like in like the world between worlds and she has all the star
Hmm.
portals around her and she's like, "All right, I gotta listen and see,
Yeah.
where I'm going." I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it felt like America, even though it did feel kind of all over the place at times, it felt like it was supposed to be a time where she did a little bit of like introspection and learned more about herself. So I thought that that was probably my favorite part of this book because I do kind of, you know, like I said, she said that she finds strength in the people that she loves. So that was a really strong message for me by the end of the series. So.
Hmm. And what did you dislike aside from things being all over the place, if there's anything?
Well, like I said, I really did think it was painfully 2017. I think that the
Define
language was
2017.
I mean, I feel like they used the word lit several times.
They used
And
hella a good number of
yes,
times. I
that's what
noticed
I'm
that.
saying. That was like the language during that time, like hella and lit was used very frequently. Like that was like when I was in high school, and I think you were in high school as well.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't really hear it as much. I mean, because
yeah.
the friend groups I was a part of, or we just we talked like this, so it
Yeah.
wasn't anything like, "Yo, this is lit, it's amazing,
Yeah.
fire, dude."
I
Like,
know.
didn't really use
Yeah.
that. But I will say, I actually did, even though some of the lines were cringy to me, especially at the beginning. I will say I felt the characters had really good voices in this book where I could
Yes.
hear them talking and like the punctuation, the style. Like I didn't just
Yes.
read it like in my own voice. Like I could actually like feel a bit of the personality coming through off the page.
They weren't just telling the story, they weren't just furthering the plot. They were kind of, their own each individual unique characters, which is another thing that I did like.
Hmm.
I just think that some of the language was,
Hella.
yeah,
Was it hella
it,
cringe?
it was hella cringe. No, it wasn't hella cringe, but some of the language that was really one of the only things that kind of threw me for a loop at
Well,
certain
there was
times.
one line at the start of the series when she first meets Prodigy that I was gonna ask, is this something that people say? And because keep in mind, I'm a comic book nerd. I just stay in my room when I'm not working and I just read and watch like, TV on Netflix. But there
Mhm.
is a line when she first meets Prodigy where she goes, "Prodigy, what the holy menstruation are you doing here?" Is this a thing people say? And
No, that's what I'm saying.
I've never heard that before. Is that something that like, is a greeting that I'm
No.
unfamiliar with?
And you see, that's where I'm kind of just like I've been following Gabby Rivera on social media since 2017, since this
Hmm.
run, and I found out that she was um writing this first America series.
Hmm.
I I was just like, come on, where is that coming from? I understand like that's supposed to you're supposed to be kind of like making a little bit of inclusive language and things like that, but I'm like, come on.
Hmm.
What
It
is
looks
that?
like she hasn't done a Marvel book since this. She's done some
No, yeah.
independent
She
books
has,
like
yeah.
at Boom Studios, but nothing at like Marvel or DC since this book.
Hmm. Yeah. I have been following her on social media a little bit, but I have not caught up on anything else that she's really done.
Hmm.
Sorry, I just like reopened the first issue, and one of the first line is, like when they're saying, "Who is America to you? Better than the Cure, like better than the Cure and MCR."
Yeah, and
And
I also didn't know who those two. I assumed those were just two random people
you
on.
don't know who the Cure, MCR meaning
No,
My
no,
Chemical
I'm talking about the
Romance.
two people that are
Oh,
getting
oh, oh,
interviewed.
okay, okay. Sorry, my bad. I was like, wait a minute, you don't know who the Cure or My Chemical Romance
No, I've heard of bands. You're wearing a Paramore shirt and you have a Fall Out
are?
Boy poster in the background. I will say I was
Um,
confused why they interviewed full. So the people they interview for this "Who is America to You?" It's Kate Bishop, obviously, makes sense.
yeah.
I'm assuming just two fans. Then they have Miles Morales, okay,
Hmm.
Puerto Rico connection there. America's My Sis from Another Miss. Felicia Hardy, Black Cat. I was like, hold on, does she have they met? Because she says she goes America. I don't know her. I'm like, is that a joke of what? I don't know
I
them,
can't.
but
It's been so long since I read the Young Avengers, so I can't tell you if she's in the
yeah.
if she was in any of those
And I just realized that
issues or not.
Storm is in the bottom
Yeah,
panel, so still a connection there. But yeah, I love that page. But then the book went, "Hi, we're going to college."
yeah.
But yeah, who wound up being your favorite character?
Definitely Kate.
Yeah,
Kate, even though she was only in it for like an issue and a half, I do. Like I said, I love the Young Avengers 2013 run, and I just love their relationship. I do say I may or may not ship them. Just because in the Young Avengers, it's also like America does flirt a lot with Kate.
hmm.
She does say a lot of like, I guess they kind of insinuate that Kate is straight, but America's like, well,
Well, the moment you
um,
change your mind,
yeah, I know she's like, well, if you change your mind, then please just like, hit me up. But I do love their relationship, their friendship. I think that it was just really cute to see America kind of more relaxed in that
yeah,
setting with her best friend. And, she always has her back. But I also did love Prodigy, the two young Avengers that are in this series. Prodigy, he seems, because we also didn't mention that she ends up moving in with him. She moves into
yes.
his dorm room when she doesn't want to live in her van anymore, the van that she bought after her breakup. So she goes to go live with Prodigy, and then that's when she ends up getting caught. But he also kind of is like the backbone for her a little bit, like grounds her a little bit. He kind of tries to make sure she doesn't fly off the handles. Like I feel like these two characters know America very well, and they know that she can kind of fly off the hinges very easily, and they want to make sure that she doesn't get herself into more trouble. They're kind of like her anchors a little bit. So they were able to, help her understand herself a little bit more.
Hmm. I will say Kate was probably my favorite character when she was in this because of like their interactions and like Kate, great wing woman. She was
Hmm.
like teasing America, like, oh, so
She's
who's this Mags? And she calls you Ame and this and that.
hmm
What's going on here? But I will say a character that I was surprised that I liked, and I also didn't expect them to be in this book that much. I just thought it was a throwaway gag was Xandria because when she's first
Yeah.
introduced, she's like, "Oh, just the leader of Lilu Multipass Phi Beta whatever." And you want to pledge the sorority, and America's like, "Yeah, no, I'm good." And I thought it was just gonna be a throwaway gag, but like, what really made me like be like, "Oh, okay, this is gonna be a good character," was when they have that moment in like issue 4. It's where like the cyborg, prep boys are in it and they go to a talk led by Moon Girl and Devil
Mm.
Dinosaurs there and everything. And they have that moment of like,
Hmm.
oh, you want to be my partner? And they're like, oh, we're gonna ace this project. I'm like, okay, there's some
Hmm.
personality here. And she winds
Yeah.
up being a really good, like, supporting character.
Yeah,
throughout the series. So she was like a surprise favorite for me. Like Kate I loved, but I was like, oh, okay, I'm digging this new character.
I did. I also did like the character of Matrimar a lot. I know that it
Yes.
kind of was like she kind of was, in simplest terms, a dick a little bit. But then,
I sent you to World War II because that's where you needed to go.
I know I sent you to punch Hitler, but but that's kind of, I'm sorry. I'm gonna pause for a second. So she sends her to World War II. She can go back in time, but then she can't kill Hitler. She can't. I'm sorry.
Well, that
That's a
throws
whole
off the
other.
timeline.
I understand
Deadpool
that.
even tried
Sorry.
doing it in Deadpool 2 in a deleted scene.
That throwing stuff like that in there and throwing like big historical figures in, I'm kind of just like, stop, please,
Mm.
just like don't. I get like the end panel where America's punching Hitler was like really like, oh, that's so badass, but I'm like, come on, guys, come
Well,
on.
that was a thing. I'm binging Doctor Who again. I haven't watched in a little bit, but I'm on season 6, and I was reminded that they accidentally save Hitler in an episode of season 6 of Doctor Who, and they don't realize who they're saving at first, and then you
Mhm.
have Hitler like say to the Doctor, be like, "Oh, thank you for saving me," and the Doctor goes, "Believe me, it was not my intention."
Thank you for saving me, Adolf Hitler. And it's like,
Yeah.
what?
But yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I feel like that's the thing. Like if you're gonna go to World War II in a comic, they always have you interact with Hitler. They do that in Harley Quinn in a mini series, Harley's Little Black Book. She meets like the bombshells version of the DC universe. So like she meets
Mm.
herself and like all the you know, bombshells. And there's a part where she basically meets up with Hitler, and it's a wild panel in that book. But she's talking to Hitler in his bunker, and she keeps like rapid fire talking, and Hitler goes, I can't take this anymore. And it's implied that Hitler, you know, offed himself because he didn't
That
want
is
to listen to Harley
insane.
Quinn anymore.
That's actually
That is an
insane.
actual thing in Harley's Little Black Book #4 from like, I don't know, 2018, whenever the issue came out.
I don't like the inclusion. I don't know. I don't really like it. Sorry, that was a whole. I honestly forgot what we were talking about. I just went off on a tangent about
Because
how Hitler is in
because
this,
we were talking
but
about America now. She's going through time and Abuelita,
oh
you know, of
yes.
all the places to send her. It's like, yeah, World War
Oh yeah,
II,
yeah, yeah.
80s X-Men.
I did like her character. I like that she was able to kind of explain to her a little bit more that she had to kind of protect her, and now she does want to be in her life and she doesn't want to teach her more. So that her as a character, I think she deserves her I don't know.
When you first met Abuelita Majamart, did you think she was future America?
I did think she was future
I had
America.
that thought for a sec too, because I'm like, okay, hold on. If we've introduced time travel to America Chavez, and
That's exactly what I was
now we have
thinking.
a character who suddenly has a lot stronger power with the stars and being able to make multiple at once, is this, and then and when America makes the thing of like, unless you're some future version of me, and so then later it's Abuelita, I'm like, oh, okay, misdirect, got it.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, good times. This was a wild series. So what
It
wound
was
up
really
being your
wild.
favorite moment or piece of dialogue? I know you mentioned something earlier.
I said you failed to consider the alternative, which is that the people I love give me strength. I also did really love the moment I just pulled up of her and Storm together when she kind of America was in the circle, kind of thinking that to connect with her ancestors, she was thinking about Lisa and how much she loved her. But then she was like, well, she was saying, I can't do this, and saying, my powers don't work like this. I don't do touchy-feely, hear your inner voice stuff. And then Storm kind of says, have you ever considered that your powers may extend beyond portals and punching, that you may be connected to the multiverse in ways you've never imagined, ways that no person or entity has ever before, which is kind of ends up leading into where how America's the only person who can connect with La Legion,
Hmm.
which I did, I guess that's kind of how it ends up. She's the kind of the link between the multiverse and things because she was born from the two different, the utopian parallel and uh Planeta Fortuna. Sorry, I had to think about the name for a
Bartona.
second. Yes, that's what I said.
Fuertona. Planeta
Fuertona.
Fuertona. If I'm even
Planeta
saying it right.
Fuertona. Yeah. She's been afraid in her dreams. She wakes up, there's some faded neon sign blinking. Um, but then she's saying Storm was saying there's no shame in being afraid. Harness the fear, let it propel you forward. This act of listening for Lisa will bring you to her and the ancestors you seek.
Oh my God, you
So,
just reminded me another thing about this book. When she's fighting Storm and
oh yeah.
they're fighting because she's like, listen, I can't be calm. I need to fight in order to make this work. And
Yeah.
Storm just goes, yeah, I have a safe word. And America's like, you're gonna have to tell me the story about that one day.
Yeah.
You can't just
No, yeah.
drop that on me and, expect nothing to be asked about it. So that was a bit of
Yeah.
another wild piece of this book. Um, what would you rate the book out of 10?
I don't I want to give it a 6.5. I want to give it a 7 actually, but
I
I
think
will
I'm
say
in the
it's a
7 range. I think
6.5. Yeah.
it's a solid, fun read.
It
Little
was,
all over the
yeah.
place in places, but I did
Yeah.
have a fun time reading it.
I did have a fun time reading it. I did have a fun time reading it. It made me, a little nostalgic because looking back at the covers, it did have a lot of, I don't know if you noticed some of the references. One of the references is actually to a Beyonce photo shoot. So I did enjoy that cover.
Which one?
I'll show you. I believe it was issue 3. I'll pull it.
Was it one of the covers?
Yes.
Because issue 3 is the X-Men
Oh,
issue.
issue 2.
Issue
It's issue
2.
2. This one is reference to Beyonce's. Yep.
Hmm. Did not know that. I loved the cover to issue 1, the glasses, everything,
Yes,
the
that
coloring.
one is. Is that a Jen Bartel that cover?
No, this one's Joe Quinones.
Mm.
Jen Bartel started doing the covers around issue 5. She did the covers for the Kate Bishop
Ah, yes, yes,
crossover.
yes.
And that's also
Jen.
that's something I've noticed with Jen Bartel. Like this cover, very reminiscent of like what the story's going to be. It's their road trip. However,
Yeah,
Jen Bartel will also do covers that are just kind of have like nothing to do with the issue that's
yeah,
happening. Because the next cover is like
yeah,
America and Kate rocking out in front of the Young Avengers, and I'm like, oh, are they going to be in this? And it's like, no, it's just a boxing match.
yeah. I actually Jen Bartel has been to a couple like a con that I went to in like 2017 where I actually cosplayed as America.
hmm
Um, and her artwork, I've always loved her artwork.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's all amazing. I love her coloring. It's always so bright. She kind of gives me like that
I
kind of
like how
gives
she
me
does. She's very detailed, and like especially when she does like curly hair, like for She-Hulk
yes.
in America, like it really
Hmm.
comes through well.
Yeah, she's somebody who I've held, you know, high for a while as a I'm trying to see if I could find a photo of my old America costume that I made because I
I
was
remember you
in
showed me it once because it's a jean jacket.
yeah.
It's reminiscent of the MCU attire, right?
Yeah, should we talk anything else
I was
about
gonna
America and the
I, I
MCU?
was gonna ask you about that because now that I remember you used to talk to me about how like you felt about America in the MCU and how you felt she was very young, she looked like she was in like late middle school, early high school, and this and
Yeah.
that. And after reading this run, I see where you're coming from because after seeing this version of America, I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, I get it now. Like, now like I'm really seeing like, okay, the young Avengers in the MCU are going to be really young when in the comics they are basically like young
Yeah.
adults
They're
and
already they're already in college essentially. I
yeah.
mean, in the Young Avengers, I believe she's supposed to be 16, so that's like
hmm
the youngest that we see her. Um, I do think I'm not going to say that Xochitl Gomez did not do a
Oh,
good
she's
job
great.
as she's
And I
great.
like Xochitl Gomez like as an actress.
Oh
Like
yeah, she's a
she
great
her
actress.
posting and like when she was on Dancing with the Stars and like
Oh
she
yeah.
seems like a lot of fun.
She does seem like a lot of fun. I do follow her on social media. She's style icon. That's one thing I have to say about
Yeah,
her.
she's like a Hot
Um,
Topic ambassador I
yeah, she's
saw.
like a hot topic ambassador. Right up my alley, obviously. No, but Xochitl Gomez did not do a bad job as America. I just think that they did some weird stuff. Multiverse of Madness in itself
I thought it was a solid movie. I know it's not for everyone. I will
I
say that
might have to rewatch it.
yeah. I will say when I saw that movie in theaters, it did genuinely surprise me, like especially
Mhm.
like the Illuminati dying and everything. I was like, oh, okay. These are some things I didn't expect.
Yeah.
But I will say, after reading this series, they really nerfed America Chavez and like her powers.
That's that's exactly what I'm saying. They did nerf her. She was a right off the bat, she's a very powerful character. She um is kind of, I would say, OP. She is she is a little OP. She can punch portals to other dimensions. She can fly. She can do so much, and they
Now she
kind
can
of
time
nerf they
travel. Like she's
now
got the
she can time
she has the
travel.
Flash treatment where it's like, all right, what can't you do?
Exactly. And she was nerfed in the MCU. I mean, they still have so much to do with her. I have seen some rumors about how she's going to be in some, I'm not sure if it's any of the Disney Plus shows, but they are trying to get the Young Avengers together.
I think the
Because,
recent thing was, isn't it? Oh wait, no.
I
I
really have not been following
actually
anything, if I'm going to be
I
honest.
don't know if it's her, but I know there was like a recent thing on like the Disney Cruise Line or whatever where like they do like the Avengers like features and there was a point where I don't remember if it's Kate Bishop, uh what Scott Lang's daughter, Cassie Lang,
Mhm.
and Ironheart. I don't remember if it's Kate Bishop or if it's America Chavez, but it's three people sitting around a table, kind of like as a tease for the Young Avengers. They have
Mm,
that going, and I've also seen rumors that part of Avengers Doomsday and like the setting up of
yeah.
Secret Wars is going to heavily involve America Chavez. Whether these are things I'm
Yes.
just seeing on my phone, that they're
Yeah.
rumors, no idea. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's more to that.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, because obviously we had the Hawkeye show, which did a little bit more of an introduction for Kate Bishop. We're having the Black Panther, Wakanda Forever introduced Riri Williams.
Yeah, and she's getting her
So
own show, which will be coming out
yeah,
in 2025, I believe.
and then they had Kid Loki in
I don't think we're seeing him ever again.
I mean, yeah, but he was in the original Young Avengers, which I was
Hmm.
kind of hoping that he would come back, but I don't think we're going to see him
Well,
again.
you know, Loki calls America a bad mamma jamma. First page of this series.
Okay, so yeah, that's something, but maybe they'll find a way to bring him back in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Obviously, not going to be Tom Hiddleston, but
Actually,
some
I
kind of
wouldn't be
variant.
surprised if Tom Hiddleston does come back because Loki
Hmm.
is literally what's holding the multiverse together. Like he's
Yeah, that's true.
Atlas. I wouldn't be surprised if they do maybe a little
Okay.
something with him. I don't see him being like starring role.
No,
Um,
yeah.
but as for America Chavez, like, yeah, they really nerfed her because in the
Yeah.
movie, so in the book, her mom sacrificed themselves to save the utopian parallel from basically like falling apart. But
Mhm.
isn't it in the movie that America like can't control her powers,
Yeah.
and so she opens a portal that sucks her mom's in, and then, or
Hmm.
is it just that America gets sucked in and she can't find her way back to her mom's,
No, her moms are gone in the
right?
movie. Yeah.
So it's implied that they could still be alive, but like she doesn't know where they are. They're lost.
And this is, I guess I was just experiencing this for the first time, and you probably went through it because you were a comic fan before you went into watching a lot of the Avengers movies. But I felt like so betrayed almost by the MCU and being like, what did you do to my girl? Like, what did you
Look at
do
how
to
they
her?
massacred my boy.
That's what I was gonna say. Look at you, they massacred my boy. Like I'm sure you probably went through that with so many different characters, but
Um, I'm trying to think of like people. Oh, so I made a huge mistake the day I saw Thor: Love and Thunder. I saw Thor: Love and
hmm
Thunder at like 5 in the afternoon. And right before I saw the movie, I binged that morning. I binged the entire Gore the God Butcher storyline, all 11 issues, and it was one of the coolest things I ever read. And I went, "Oh my God, Christian
this
Bale
movie's gonna
can
be
nail this."
great.
Yeah. And then I saw the movie and went, "Oh no. Oh no." Like that's I think that's the most and like I'm very particular on fandom because like something I like to
Yeah.
think about is like, when you get to into something late in the game. right? Like
Hmm.
I feel like, you know, it's great you've become a new fan, but I always want to like respect old fans by not
Yeah.
being like an obnoxious new fan. Like I wouldn't be in
Hmm.
like Twitter comment sections or Instagram posts being like, "Oh my God, Thor: Love and Thunder ruined everything because Gore the God Butcher is the coolest character ever, and if you read the comics, you would know." I can't
Hmm.
say that. I read it that day. Like
Yeah.
even though it's my honest opinion and everything, I don't, I don't feel like qualified as like maybe some diehard Thor fans to be like, yo, this ruined everything. Like I feel like you have to be like I don't really get into hate commenting or
No,
anything,
yeah.
but I really feel like you have to have like a strong like history and like years. And maybe there's a hot take, but I feel like you really have to have like a deep connection to the material to have like an opinion that's, just distaste or disgust to be like, I hated that because A, B, and C reasons.
And that's kind of how I feel a little bit about America. Like, she was the first comic character that I really felt like a connection to. I
Hmm.
felt like I saw a lot of myself in her. Um, and I, while I don't think that they ruined her character, I think it went in a direction
It's
and
not the
changed a
America
lot
you
about.
know.
No, it's not. And you
Yeah.
could say that about so many different characters in the MCU because of just they completely slander every single character essentially. I also am
Hmm.
a Miss Marvel fan and I got like 2 seconds into the Miss Marvel show and I was
You
like,
didn't finish
I
it?
don't know. I didn't. I
I
didn't.
liked it. I liked it. However, another thing, speaking of the MCU, I feel like with MCU shows, they either start really great and or interesting, intriguing, and then fall apart by the end, or
Yeah.
they have like a slow build and a strong finish, like Loki. I feel like Miss Marvel went the route of really great start, fell apart by the end, where the finale was literally like a Home
I
Alone.
got like halfway through it. I
It
got
was
like
it was a
halfway
Home
through
Alone
it.
movie in the finale where they literally like fight commandos with like makeshift things in a school. And I was like, okay, this is Home Alone.
Want to know
Um,
what show I did watch the entirety of though?
what?
She-Hulk.
I didn't
And
think
I
She-Hulk was that bad. I
because
thought it was
I
fine.
I thought She-Hulk was fun. I watched it and I enjoyed it.
I thought it was a good time. And also, it
So,
wasn't like every episode was an hour. Like it was half-hour
yeah.
episodes. It was fine. It was solid.
Hmm.
Daredevil episode was my favorite.
Oh,
As
obviously.
Daredevil. But I do think it was a solid show. I did think the ending was a little like okay. Just because since it got so fourth wall breaky, it's like okay. So did everything really happen or but
Yeah.
I doubt we're ever gonna talk about like Todd or anybody in that show ever again. Like
Hmm.
I maybe in Daredevil Born Again, like maybe he'll just be like, "Oh yeah, I was seeing Jen like last week or
Yeah.
something." But who knows?
Can
We'll
I show
see.
you? I found the photo of my old cosplay.
Yeah, show me. Show
I
show
don't.
show the listener and or viewer the cosplay.
I'm I'm trying not to show my face in it because I'm like making a stupid face. Um, I just basically just painted the jacket and everything. I got like a regular, just a basic America, basically young Avengers America.
I did
Nothing too crazy.
I would like to do some cosplaying at some point because it seems like a fun thing to do once you get into it and you make something for yourself. I
Yeah.
always do simple things. The most I did was like this past Comic-Con and like Halloween.
Oh yeah.
I put
Yeah, you
together a
were.
Negan
Hmm.
costume, but
I
like I
did see
also
that.
ordered this stuff like literally the week before Comic-Con, being like, why not? And it got here in time, so I'm like, yeah, might as well wear it.
Well,
Um,
I that was my con outfit for years. I
yeah,
actually there was a more recent con that I went to. You know, there's a local con on Long Island, Eternal Con, um,
yeah.
that I went to and I dressed up as her again. But I've just been wearing the same outfit for however many years. I've had it since I was like 15, 16 years old. So, it's nothing crazy.
Mm, but yeah. Any other thoughts on America?
Um, I just love this character a lot. I hope that she gets more appreciation. I hope that if she goes further into the MCU that they don't ruin her character.
Mm.
And they, you know, show who she really is as a character and, she's kind of, I mean, she is, she's known as Miss America,
Hmm.
so she kind of has like the morality and complex like that, like Captain America. So I'm a huge Captain America fan, and or at least MCU Captain America. I'm sorry, I don't read a lot of comics, but I hope that they can do her justice in the way that they were able to do him justice.
Mm.
That's my take on it.
I think that's a good take to end this episode on. So now we do the lovely outro script where, again, we also don't have it memorized. Um, but thank you once again for visiting your local Comic Con. If you like today's discussion, please feel free to check out other episodes we've done. Right now, by this point, there would only be two. All episodes of the podcast are available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud, with new episodes dropping every Monday at midnight. Please feel free to subscribe to the show and follow my socials at Local Comic Sean for clips, what we're reading in the future, and more fun. If you'd like to support the show, I encourage you to subscribe to our Patreon to gain access to behind the scenes content and other resources for both reading and digital creation. Thank you so much again for visiting, and I'll see you the next time. Anything you want to say to close us out, Kristi?
Bye.
Bye.